Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Riot want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Baal Shema Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body a living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprisings, the uproars, they're out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up. Reading, praying, fasting, taking notes, being diligent, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand, to wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom, you understand, to all of the mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to magnify the Most High in the ministry. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, making their body a living sacrifice. This is going to be a Q&A. We're going to go into anything the spirit of the Most High puts on the spirit, you understand, of Yasha Allah, to bring out the questions, and Most High willing, will be able to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right? We're going into Paul's epistles, we're going into prophecy, we're going into breakdowns, we're going into common knowledge, we're going into any questions, right, that I see on the comment board through the spirit, and we're going to go in order, right? And I'm going to share my screen and give me a strong com if you can see the screen, right? And we're going to dive straight into it. Let's go to the mighty book of Proverbs. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, and verse number 2. It says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a thing," meaning the Most High conceals knowledge. Knowledge isn't easy to find, and it's just out there in the open. No, the Most High conceals things. He conceals parables, allegories. You understand, similitudes. There are riddles in the scriptures. The Most High conceals knowledge. But the honor of kings is to search out a matter. So the Most High wants man to search out a matter. Ask questions. You understand? Go into etymology, right? Go online. Dive into the books. Do any and everything that you can to find out things that are hidden and that are secret. Right? Let me get this quick precept in the book of Ezekiel. This is Ezekiel chapter 17. And I'm going to start at verse number 2. "Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Israel." So the Most High is giving the words to Israel, but it's not all plain. The Lord's giving it in a riddle, and he's giving it in a parable, right? And it's only for the wise in heart and man that has understanding to search these things out, right? Let me get this quick precept. And second Esdras. It's second Esdras chapter 14. And I'm going to start at verse 5. It says, "And told him many wonderful things, and shewed him the secrets of the times." So the Most High showed Moses the secrets of the times. He showed him the beginning, right? He showed him the midst of things. He showed him the end of things. It says, "These words shalt thou declare." So certain things the Lord made plain. The Lord made plain certain things in the law. The Lord made plain the dietary law. You don't have to search that out. It's not a mystery or a parable. The Lord made plain how to keep the Sabbath day. You don't have to search that thing out. It says, "And these shall thou hide," meaning the parables. When you read the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, going into Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, those things are mysteries. They're parables. There's similitudes in there. And the Most High said, look, certain of these things you have to hide. So it's up for us in the last days to search these matters out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right? We're going to dive straight into the first question. Right? I don't want to upset anyone. T. Sellers, I have been reading Hosea, and all I'm needing to know is, can you please explain Hosea 4 and 14 to me, the water? All right, let's dive into it. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 14. It's the book of Hosea chapter 4 and verse 14. Right, I'm going to start at verse number 12. My people ask counsel at stocks. Stocks is like a tree, a stump, wood. They ask counsel at idolatry, and their staff declare unto them, for the spirit of whoredoms have caused them to err. The whoredoms that they were doing in the time of Hosea were bowing down to idols, idolatry, and giving up false sacrifices, right, to the spiritual demon Satan. And they have gone a whoring from under their God, because the Most High is our refuge and our protection. We went a whoring, meaning we left the refuge, protection, and glory of the Most High to put on strange garments. It says they sacrifice upon the tops of mountains. Why the top of the mountain? Because actually, let me get this quick precept. That's when you could get the closest up high, you understand, to your so-called God. Let me get this real fast in the book of Isaiah chapter 57. It's the mighty book of Hosea. It's like Isaiah chapter 57 in verse number 2, right? And it reads, he shall enter into peace. They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in their uprightness. It says, but draw near thither, ye sons of sorcerers, the seed of adulterers and the whore. Against whom do you sport yourself? So the Lord's asking a question. Whom do you sport yourself? Sporting yourself is thinking you the hot stuff, thinking you all that, sticking your tongue out, wearing strange clothes, turning from the laws. Who you sporting yourself acting all proud against? Against whom do you make wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are ye not children of transgressors, a seed of falsehood, inflaming yourselves with idols under every green tree? The green trees is to hide the shade, right? They would go upon mountains, and upon these mountains they would have these trees, and they would do it in secret upon the top before all. You understand, to sacrifice and do strange things to the spiritual demon Satan, the children of Balaam. It says, slaying children in the valleys under the cleft of the rocks. So in the valleys up high, you understand, in the clefts of the rocks, meaning upon mountains. So they used to do these sacrifices upon high. It says, among the smooth stones of the stream is thy portion. They that are thy lot, even to them hast thou poured a drink offering. Thou hast offered a meat offering. Should I receive comfort in thee? So just going to show you, on the top of that mountain, the spirits up there, man, right high up. It says, and burnt incense upon the hills, under oaks, under pollars, and under elms, right? These are different trees, right, where the shade will cover them. Because the shadow thereof is good, therefore your daughters shall commit whoredom, and your spouses shall commit adultery. What is that talking about? That's talking about because you went a whoring from me, because the Most High, Bahashim Yahushua, is our husband, right? Yahushua is our husband. Let me get that quick precept. So if you go a whoring from the Lord, and what are we doing right now? We're the bride of the Lord. We're awaiting the marriage. It's the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 11. And I'm going to start at verse number 2. For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as chaste virgins to Yahushua. So if we're in a state to be a chaste virgin, a virgin can't be beholding all men's eyes. A virgin can't be dibbling and all the way over here in philosophies, doctrines, right? Committing spiritual fornication. That's breaking the breach, right, of awaiting to our husband to be married. So the Lord is saying and putting up, since you want to go off and commit whoredom in the sight of me, I'm going to make your daughters commit whoredom in the sight of you. Meaning those men that were giving up all of these sacrifices and doing all of these things to these deities, I'm going to take your daughters and I'm going to take your wives and I'm going to make them whores in the streets. So you can know how it feels as a man for your daughter and your wife to go a whoring in your sight. So the Lord is checking them, man, and judging them. Right? Verse number 14. I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom. Why? Because that's your judgment. It's not saying that the daughters of the land have a free pass to commit whoredom, lewdness, and lasciviousness, and evilness, and wrought all type of lewdness in the eyes of the Most High. No, the Most High put a spirit on them to commit fornication. It says, I will not punish your daughters. Why? Because that's their judgment when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit idolatry, so like adultery, for themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore, the people that do not understand shall fall. The people that do not understand is the people that's sacrificing right into these idols. Let's go to the book of Hosea chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse number 2. At the beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea, and the Lord said to Hosea, go and take thee a wife of whoredoms, and the children of whoredoms, for the land have committed great whoredom from departing from the Lord. So the Lord said, look, the whole land has committed whoredom. No matter where you go, there's somebody upon a tall mountain over here, upon the cleft of the rock over here, upon the omer, upon the oak tree, and upon all these things committing sacrifices unto the spiritual demon Satan. Since you go from a horn from me, I'm going to make your wives and your daughters go a horn in your sight. And that goes into the law. The Lord said, thou shalt not prostitute thy daughter, that the land may not be filled with whoredoms. Right, let me get that real fast. Book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 29. Right? It says, do not prostitute thy daughter. So that's in the law. You're not supposed to take your daughter and prostitute her out, to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom. So that's more spiritual, letting you know it's more of a judgment for the Lord to turn his hand against the whole inhabitants of the land, and the land become full of wickedness. So the land was already full of wickedness, you understand, spiritually, but the Lord made the land full of wickedness, right, physically. Right, let's go back to it through the spirit. All right, we diving into the next question. Right, Ephraimite love, all praise to the Most High. Right, Shalom, Shalom. Right, next question. Tribe of Judah, Shalom. Can you expound on the cruel Lord and fierce king that is mentioned in Isaiah chapter 19 and verse number 4? Right, now when you actually go inside of it through the scholars, right, they have many different answers on who that cruel king and who that cruel Lord is. Right, some say it's Nebuchadnezzar, some say it's Saigon II, right, some guess Arsadon. Right, let me get this quick precept. Now, to get as close as you can, right, and we're going to dive into it. When you read Isaiah, right, chapter 13, right, all the way through 19, is going into judgments on Ethiopia, to Babylon, you understand, to Syria, right, to Moab, to Ammon, to all of these different nations, right, and it's judging them. Now, when you get to the 19th chapter, right, it's going into Egypt. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 19, and I'm going to start at verse number 4. It says, the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. Now you have many conquests, right, of Egypt. It says, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. Now I'm going to dive into this real fast to go into it. Right. Cambyses' conquest of Egypt. Now, Cambyses, it says he conquered after his victory over the Egyptian pharaoh, right, Persemek III, in 526 through 525 at the Battle of Pelusium in 525 BC. So he had different conquests of Egypt during his time, and Egypt was taken down many of times. You also had, let me get this real quick, that he said Nebuchadnezzar never conquested of Egypt and took it down, but nevertheless, I still want to read this for edification's sake. Though Egypt was not conquered, the campaign did result, right, in materially curbing Egyptian interests in the Levant, given that Necho II gave up his ambitions in his reign in 599, right, going into what? The battle of Carchemish. Right, you can read about that in Jeremiah chapter 46. Right, you can read about that in the first chapter, right, going into, right, Ezra, right, when you dive into it. Right, Ezra, the first chapter. Now, I don't necessarily have to read all of these accounts, right, but it's in there, right, in verse 25 all the way down. Right, you had Pharaoh Necho II, right, going into that and that great war and that great battle. Now, I also want to dive into, right, another king, right. Salaki, bear with me. It says the third king of Saigon dynasty, right, Esarhaddon, is the most famous for his conquest of Egypt in 671, which made his empire the largest in the world, right, had ever seen. And for this reconstruction of Babylon, which had been destroyed by his father. And when you go into his father, let me see. You got the Assyrian conquest of Egypt, converting a relatively short period of the Neo-Syrian Empire from 673 to 663. The conquest of Egypt not only placed the land in great cultural prestige under the Assyrian rule, but also brought the Neo-Assyrian Empire to its greatest ascent. Now, as close as you could get of what the scholars would say, they would say this man right here. And this war and this conquest is what that's really going into. But also, when you go into the commentary, they'll say, like I said, Saigon. They say Passamilius, who became the king of Egypt, breaking up the diarchy of Nebuchadnezzar and Cambyses, right? Each in its turn being identified as presenting the features of the cruel Lord. But going fast as you can, with the timelines and the dates, right? This man right here will be the closest. Eshadon, right? Going into that cruel Lord, right? In the book of Isaiah, go back to that through the Spirit, right? Chapter 19 and verse number 4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. And the water shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. Now that's spiritual going, in the spirit, going into the Lord taking down Egypt. Because the Lord's going to take down Egypt, right? And the Egyptians are going to be in against the Egyptians, and all hell is going to break loose, right, throughout the four corners of the earth with the destruction of the so-called white man. All right, we diving into the next question. Right, Shalom, Shalom, Benjamin Young Wolf, all praise to the Most High, right, WFI New York in the building, right, Shalom, Shalom, right, Yeshanan, Salaki Yashan, David, all praise to the Most High, diligent brother, always on the live. All right, we diving into it, right, divine of nature, Shalom, King. In Acts 10 and 14 through 7, what does the vision represent? So like it was Yahweh giving Peter a vision to prepare him to go before the Gentiles. What did unclean food mean? Can you break it down? Right? Acts chapter 10 and verse 14. Let's dive into it. This is the book of Acts chapter 10 verse number 14. Right? And it reads. It says, but Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. Right, so the Lord told Peter in the 10th verse all the way down that he fell into a trance. Right, I'm going to just read it. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they had made ready, he fell into a trance, talking about Peter. And he saw heaven open up. So as Peter's in the daze, he's seeing heaven open up right before him. And a certain vessel descending unto him as it had been a great sheet, talking about a table, knit at the four corners. So each table predominantly has four corners. So it's a great sheet, like you throw a sheet over to eat at a dinner table throughout the four corners. The four corners represent what? The four corners of the earth. Right, let me get the quick precept on that. Not that the physical earth has four corners, but four is a number of completion and totality. Right? This is the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 7. And I'm going to start at verse number 4. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 1. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth. Now, the earth doesn't literally have four corners, but four is a number of totality and completion, showing you a round completeness. Holding the four winds, now there isn't four Pacific winds. The winds is going into destructions throughout all of the four corners of the earth, from the east, the north, the south, you understand? And the north. It says, and he should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. So that's going to show you that there are four winds, there are four corners of the earth, right? And that sheet knit, you understand, is going into what? A vessel descending down. Now that vessel descending down, it says in verse 12, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts. When you had a bunch of unclean animals, you had pigs, right? You had a type of rabbits, right? You had horses, right? You had dogs. You had all these unclean beasts. You had cats, all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth and wild beasts. right? You had hogs and creeping things, right? Centipedes, caterpillars, and fowls of the air, crows, and all manner of the eagles, kinds. It says, and there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. Meaning go take down these animals and eat them. Now, Peter saw all these unclean animals descending in his trance. He didn't know that it was a vision foretelling a parable going into the Gentiles, because the Gentiles are unclean. What makes you unclean? When your garment is spotted. Your garment is spotted, meaning what? You're in sin. You're not keeping the commandments of the Most High. You're in idolatry. You're in lewdness. You're in everything that you ought not to be in, and that makes you dirty in the sight of the Most High, and it makes you unclean. You want to be spotless and clean, as the scriptures say. Let me get this quick precept in the book, right, of James. It's the book of James, chapter 1, and verse, right, 27. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Meaning your garment should be all white. There should be no spots in your garment or no uncleanness in the sight. Now you have men that keep the commandments, and through the mercy and grace of the Most High, you understand the Most High grants them to be clean in his sight. But then the Gentiles, which know if not God, right, they're given to, the dust and the dirt of this world. So it says, we're in all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth. Now this is a similitude for the Gentiles, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And it came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And I've never ate any unclean beast. How many brothers can say that, man? Right? Us being raised in Babylon and wherever, London, Africa, wherever you are throughout the four corners of the earth, we're always given to that. We're given a bacon, we're given a pepperoni, or we're given a hog maw, right, stuffed in the greens, or we're given to everything that's nasty and unclean, right? Even in our candy, our chips, our food, right? The things that we even put on our skin, right, are sold in with these unclean beasts and these animals, right? And even a butcher in the shop with the same knife he's cutting the pork with, right? He's cutting up the fowls with, the chicken, right, and the turkey. So we're given in this society to unclean things. Like, but Peter said, I've never eaten anything that's unclean. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, what God have cleansed, that call not thou common. Now let's jump to verse 25. Now, why is it saying what God have cleansed? It's not saying the Lord has cleansed pork. The Lord has cleansed, right, all manner of unclean creatures. Because a lot of Christians, they'll go to 1 Timothy, right, the 4th chapter, and they'll make a doctrine out of 1 Timothy, the 4th chapter. Right, this is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 4, and I'm going to start at verse 1, and I'm going to read all the way down to verse 5. Now the Spirit speaketh expressively that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. The faith is what? Yahushua, giving heed unto seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. So the Lord's about to let you know by the Apostle Paul, given to Timothy, what a lot of these seducing and evil doctrines and spirits are going to be in the last days. Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with an hot iron. Meaning their mind used to be clear, but it got seared by wickedness, by seducing spirits, by doctrines, and it overthrew their understanding. Forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats. Right? That's a doctrine, man. And the Lord never said to not eat meat, man. You can eat meat. You're commanded to eat meat. Right? You have to eat meat on the Passover, which God have created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. Now, a lot of Christians will pull this and say, well, you know what? I can eat meat. I can eat all meats because it's received with thanksgiving and them that believe and know the truth. Amen. Now, what does that mean? What is thanksgiving? What is them that believe and know the truth? The truth is Yahushua. Them that believe is them that believe, right? Not to be overthrown by these doctrines and one fold in context, but them that believe the doctrine of the truth of Yahushua. So if you believe the words of the Most High, from Genesis to Revelation, how can you be overthrown by seducing spirits and doctrines of devils? Thanksgiving is what being sanctified through the thanksgiving and the mercy that the Most High has over your food. Why? Because the Lord said this. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Ezekiel. right? Because the Lord said we would eat what? The foul bread amongst the Gentiles. So not only is it talking about on one fold being sacrificed to idols, on another fold it's talking about what? All the disgustingness, the evilness, right? You may have a butcher. Now he's chopping up things and he's using the same knife. And he may roll it over to a part where it had blood by an unclean beast in it, or foreseen evils that you know not of. Now, if you don't have no understanding in that, you have a good conscience and clear to know that you're eating the clean food. You pray to the Most High, and through thanksgiving and sanctification and cleanliness and believing and knowing the truth that Yahweh Shai can make all things clean, even you, because you was once unclean, then how can you not eat it and understand it? Why should I abstain from the meats by being scared and not understanding Yahweh Shai's power that he could sanctify the food? That's what it's going into. Because certain people will be so scared, so overrighteous, and so overthrown by not having faith in Yahweh Shai that they abstain from eating meats. It says this. It's the book of Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 13. And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread amongst the Gentiles, whether I will drive them. Meaning, well, we're eating all type of unclean foods, man. Not willingly, but we're subject to this lifestyle by being slaves in a land that which we know of not, man. Right, verse 4. For every creature of God is good, and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thanksgiving. Now, I want to go into that, because you can't just stop there, right? Let's get the etymology on that word, right? Thanksgiving. Gratitude, right? It says to God an act of worship, right? So it says an act of worship, thanksgiving. Now going into that real fast, it says to giving thanks, right? It says we accept it always in all places, most noble Felix, with all thanksgivingness, right? Let me see if they got another one through the Spirit. Right, I'm going to read this. 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 1. I exhort therefore that first of all, supplications, prayer, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men. So it's an act of worship. Going back to this, I want to read 4 again. For every creature of God is good, and nothing to be refused. Why were they refusing it in the first place? It's talking about idol worship. It's talking about things sacrificed to idols. It's not talking about pigs. It's not talking about horses. It's not talking about snakes. If it be received with thanksgiving, meaning what? A prayer of sanctification, a cleanliness, your faith and understanding and conscience to thank the Most High that he cleansed your food, because you understand nothing is not clean in the sight of the Most High. If it be received through the sanctification of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. It says that in verse 5. For it is sanctified by the word of God and prayer. It's not saying the Lord is going to be double-minded and turn his mind from what he already commanded. That would be madness. So going back to it, right, let me get this quick precept. Going back to this point, right, in the book of Acts, right, chapter 10. But we broke that down, so I'm going to go to the book of Acts, right, chapter 11. Now, the book of Acts, the 11th chapter, goes into the breakdown of the 10th chapter, right? Now, I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at verse 7. I heard a voice saying unto me, arise, Peter, slay and eat. Right? This is the breakdown of the vision. And I said, not so, Lord, for nothing common or unclean have at any time entered into my mouth. But the voice answered me again from heaven, what God have cleansed, that call not thou common. And this was done 3 times, and all were drawn up again into heaven. And immediately, there were 3 men already come into the house where I was sent from Caesarea unto me. And the Spirit bade me to go with them, nothing doubting. Moreover, these 6 brethren accompanied me, and where we entered into a man's house. And he shewed us how he had seen an angel in his house, which stood and said unto him, send men to Joppa, and call for Simon, whose surname is Peter, who shall tell these words whereby thou and all thy house shall be saved. And I began to speak. The Holy Ghost fell on them as on us at the beginning. Then remembered I the word that the Lord, how the Lord said, John indeed baptized with water, but ye should be baptized with the Holy Ghost. Meaning the Holy Ghost fell on the Gentiles. Right? The water may have fell on the Jews for that exact moment in time to be baptized. You understand, for a mapping out of a way to follow. But the Spirit of the Most High is going to sanctify and truly cleanse you by the washing of water, which is by the word. Now, I want to get one more precept on that in Acts chapter 10 and verse 25 all the way down. Right? It says this. And Peter was coming in, and Cornelius met him, fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man. And he talked with him and went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or to come unto another nation. What law is that? What law says that in the Torah? Right? No, the law that it was going into was the law of the circumcision. The circumcision separated themselves from the uncircumcision. That's why Peter is saying this. It says, and he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing. How is that unlawful from the Most High to have the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, or a Gentile state of mind man and a man that knows the truth, right, to come together in unity? For a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But God have shewed me right through the vision that I should not call any man common or unclean. So what Peter was going into was a man when the Lord was talking about common and unclean and I have not eaten it and those unclean beasts. It was going into man. Right? Now we're going to dive into the next one through the Spirit. Shalom King, Quadam, Shalom King. Can you explain Leviticus 2 and 11? Does that mean that we can't eat honey with our unleavened bread? All right, let's dive into it. Let's go to the mighty book of Leviticus. All right, that's a mighty question. All right, it's Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 11. And it reads, No meat offering. Now, the meat offering is what? It's not talking about a bullock. It's not talking about sheep. It's not talking about a goat. The meat offering is going into the grain offering, you understand, of bread. It says, No meat offering, which ye shall bring unto the Lord, shall be made with leaven. Meaning it has to be unleavened bread if you give up that meat offering. For ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of the Lord made by fire. So you ask, does this mean that we can't eat honey with our unleavened bread? No, we can eat honey with our unleavened bread. But when you burn honey upon the altar, that's an unsacred thing in the eyes of the Most High. The Most High is not going to grant that offering to be received if you burn honey. And when you go into the understanding of burning honey, when you burn honey, you take away all of its nutrients, right? And everything that's good for your body when you burn the honey, and you take away everything that can enrich your body and heal your body, right? Let me get this real fast. Look, what happens when you burn honey? Heating honey to high temperatures, generally above 45 to 50 Celsius, right, eliminates these benefits by killing bacteria, enzymes, and antioxidants that make honey so powerful. Check that out, man. So if you burn the honey, it's no point of indulging in the honey. You're taking away its power. You're taking away its antioxidants. You're taking away its enzymes. You're taking away the strength of the honey by burning it. Not only on that fold, but you're not supposed to burn the honey. Now, if you had the unleavened bread, you made it through the Spirit, and you put honey on top of it, all praise to the Most High, right? There's no crime, no transgression in that. You just can't put that honey upon the altar to burn it as a sacrifice. That's what it's going into. All right, HBKENT. Will the 2/3 be reborn in the kingdom have spiritual powers like those who passed through the second wilderness? All right, well, let's dive into it. All right, let's go to the mighty book of Joel, the second chapter. Now, essentially, why do the elect have spiritual powers? They have spiritual powers to hunt down the heathens. They have spiritual powers to take down, right, all of the wicked. Let me get this quick precept. Matter of fact, I'm going to stay with this one, and I'm going to come back to that one. It's the book of Joel, chapter 2, and I'm going to start. Salaki, bear with me. Joel, chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse. This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 7. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one in his way. They shall not break their ranks. Talking about the army of the Most High. Now, the army of the Most High, why does the Most High have an army? To thrush and destroy the heathen. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Isaiah, right? Chapter 41. Now, after everything is subdued, the nations are taken down. Right, in the earth, through the prophecy and hand of the Most High, has said the earth shall be at peace. There's no need for man to be born with all of this spiritual power. Right now, that's a gift that the Most High is going to give the elect. This is Isaiah chapter 41. And I'm going to start at verse. This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at. Let me see. Verse 15. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth, that thou thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills chaff. Right, so the Lord is going to make you a sharp threshing instrument to thresh, beat, whoop, and break down the mountains and the hills. Now, the mountains are the higher nations, right? Esau, right? Ham, right? These are high nations, and then also the hills, right? The Ammonites, right? The Japhites, them that don't have that much military power and strength, right? Or number. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shall glory in the Holy One of Israel. So the Lord said he's going to make us a sharp threshing instrument. But that's not every one of Israel. Like the women aren't going to have spiritual powers. Certain men aren't going to have spiritual powers. It's a window and a reason why you even have spiritual powers. Verse 8. Neither shall one thrush another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they shall fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Right? Meaning you're not going to be able to take down the man of God, right, that's in war. Right? You're not going to be able to shut him down, wound him, stab him, kill him, and overthrow him. Now, I'm going to go into that, right, real fast through the Spirit. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, right, going into the army of the Lord. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, and verse, right, number 1. The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. So this valley is full of bones, is all Israel. And he caused me to pass by, so like round about, and behold, there were very many in an open valley, and lo, they were very dry, right, on drugs, right, prostitution, right, distraught, right, in idolatry, and lewdness, and drunkenness, just completely lost in all manner of religion. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Yahweh God, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, Prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. So when you actually look at it in the spirit is going to enter into these men that are awoken. These men are going to be the army. Everybody's not going to awaken to be a part of this army when you prophesied unto Israel. We've prophesied it into thousands of men on the highways and byways. They hear it for a season, they smoke weed, and they leave. They hear it, they get offended because they have to change. They have to put down weed, they have to put down Christianity, and they leave. They hear it for a season, it don't suck with them because they're in Buddhism, they're in Islam, or they're in Christianity, and they leave. So as you prophesied, only a part of these bones are going to rise up to become an army. Everybody's not going to be the army of the Lord. It says, verse 5, Thus saith the Lord God unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay shrooms, right, upon you, right, meaning muscles and tissues right around your muscles. And I will bring flesh upon you, right, meaning muscle, and shall cover you with skin. And all of that's spiritual, right? Because let me get this quick precept in Job. Right, all of that's your makeup, and that's your wisdom, and that's your knowledge coming upon you, right, as unto bones. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 10. It's the book of Job, chapter 10 and verse 11. Thou hast clothed me with skin. How are we clothed with skin? Right? Because while we were desolate, we were bones. Right? The Most High gave us flesh, shrines, skin. He has fenced you and made you to come to life. It says, and flesh, and that fenced me with bones and shrines. Right? And that's spiritual. It says this, verse number 7. It says, I'm going to start at 6. And I will lay shrooms upon you, and I will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied it as he commanded me, and I prophesied it. There was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to bone, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the shrooms and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Now, this is prior to Yahweh Shah coming back. In the spirit, these are the men that are prophesied on the highways and byways. They're the army of the Lord. They're the elect of the elect that's doing the work of the Most High. They're imaging after Peter. They're imaging after Paul. They're imaging after Barnabas. They're traveling. They're teaching. They're doing the work of the Most High. You know, not to get on or shun anybody that's not doing it at that level, but you have men that are stronger than other men with a greater lot than other men have. And they're going to be able to be given things that they can handle, that they've worked for, that other men haven't worked for. It says this, then said he unto me, prophesied unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord God, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slains that they may live. Now, what happened when Paul received the unction in the spirit from Yahweh Shah himself? He laid his hands upon Timothy. Now, Timothy could be able to lay his hands on somebody else. But before Timothy had that power, Paul had to give it to him. Before Paul had that power, Yahweh Shah had to give it to him. My point of it is these men are the elect. They're going to have the spirit to be able to lay hands and give spirit of the Holy Ghost upon people, to give man a spiritual power to do these things. Right? Other men aren't going to have that. Right? Now, when you go to, not to be too long-winded, but I want to get one more point. In Hosea, the 6th chapter, it's Hosea chapter 6 and verse 1. Come unto us, return unto the Lord, for he have torn, meaning he have broke us down, and he will heal us, and he will bring us back to life, right? And he have smitten us, and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. That's not everybody being raised up. After 2 days, he shall revive us. And the third day, right, we should be raised up in his sight. That's not all of Israel. That's the army. They're going to be the ones that have the spiritual powers. Right? And the Lord said, let me get this one last precept in the book of Mark. Right? When the Lord, or what the Christians called, the Great Commission, right, was upon the mount, and he was talking, right, to the 12. What did the Lord say? This is the book of Mark, chapter 16, and verse number 15. And he said unto them, go ye into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues. So these are the men that believe. Meaning you have men that believe in this life, and they're going to believe in the next. You have men that don't believe in this life, and they will believe in the kingdom. But as into this life, that are baptized, that do follow the Lord, these are the signs, meaning the gifts that shall follow them. They shall speak in new tongues, meaning they're going to speak the Hebrew. They're going to go inside of the Latin. They're going to go inside of the Greek. They're going to understand etymology. They're going to understand the Most High, right, and break it down as it is written. They're going to cast out devils, right? They shall take up serpents. I mean, that's not physical, right? But it can be, right? And if they drink any deadly thing, meaning any doctrine, philosophy, or anything that creep into their mind, it shall not hurt them. Meaning a wise man could foresee and look at evil. It says Solomon gave himself to wickedness and folly, even foolishness and madness. But only he can do that. Why? Because of his infinite wisdom. You can't let a fool creep up in foolishness and madness and wickedness and folly. Because he's going to be given over to that book of witches and book of doctrines or book of philosophies. He's going to be dived into it. But certain men, they can look into those things to cast them down and chop them down. And we look into Islam that we may chop it down. We look into the Book of the Dead and Egyptology that we may chop it down. We dive into Christianity to understand what they believe and their thoughts that we may chop it down. So these men that follow Yahushua, by in no means can anything hurt them or overthrow them. These are the 12. It says, they shall lay hands on the sick and shall recover. And there's no account of anybody else during this time, this life or the next, that's going to have these powers that didn't follow Yahushua from the beginning. Right? But let's go to the next question. Right? African journey. Shalom. Is there a specific scripture that explains how long or how short women's garments, skirts, dresses has to be? Right? Right? There is no specific scripture, right, that says, 12 inches, like 39 inches, 55 inches. There's no scripture that dives into how specifically short they have to be, but using wisdom. Wisdom is a gift from the Most High, and you have to apply and use wisdom to understand, the spirit of the Most High as it is written. Right? And I'm going to dive into this quick account, through the spirit. Right? This is the mighty book of 2 Samuel, right? Chapter 13 and verse, right, number 18. Right? I'm going to start at 17. It says, then called his servants that ministered unto him and said, put now this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her. And she had a garment of diverse colors upon her. For with such robes were the king's daughters that were virgins' apparel. Do you think virgins' apparel is this, man? Right? Right? This isn't virgins' apparel. Now, somebody could say, well, it doesn't say how long. It doesn't say how wide. It doesn't say. No, it does say in the spirit. Because virgins' apparel, any man with wisdom and knowledge and understanding can see, is not talking about this. These skimpy dresses and these short dresses. Now, you can't put fringes at the end of this and think that you're keeping the commandments. So they had virgins' apparel that certain women wore. It says, then his servants brought her out and bolted the door after her. And Tamar put ashes upon her head and rent her garment of diverse colors that was upon her and laid her hand on her head and went out crying. Now, I want to get the mighty book of Judith. Right? Chapter 10. This is Judith chapter 10. And I'm going to start at verse number 3. And pulled off the sackcloth which she had on, and put off the garments of her widowhood. Now, a widowhood garment is not a garment to be looked at for sexual reasons. It's not a garment to be looked at as high and renowned and glorious. It's a widow's garment. It's a garment that's covering her of her widowhood. And washed her body all over with water, and anointed herself with precious ointments, and braided her hair, right, of her head, and put on a tire upon it, and put off her garments of gladness. So you have garments of widowhood, you have garments of gladness, you have garments that women wore in their virginity. So you had different type of garments. And you don't necessarily have to, tie up your damn eyes like an Arabian. Right? Let me get this picture. Right? You don't have to walk around like this, like you're about to rob a store. Right? You don't want to be over righteous either. right? You only show an eye or two, right? On your first time you meet up, right, with the righteous brother, you show one eye, right? Maybe by your fourth date, you reveal the other eye, and this is all he sees. He doesn't know what he's marrying. He has no idea what's going on, right? All he has to see is her eyes and her voice. He has to make, his discernment whether this is the woman and the right one for her, right one for him. Now you have to walk around like this. But with that being said, you had different garments. Certain women will wear widowhood garments. Certain women will wear garments of gladness. That may be with diverse colors. It may have an upbeat tempo to it, but nevertheless, it's always covered. You understand? You're not showing any part of your body that will arouse a man to commit, right, lewdness and all type of idolatry, right, and adultery in his heart. Wherewith she had clad during the life of Manasseh, her husband. And she took sandals upon her feet and put them about her, her bracelets and her chains and her rings and her earrings and all her ornaments, and decked herself bravely to allure the eyes of men that should see it. Now, when it says garments of gladness, this is going into the spirit, right, that she tried to allure those men when you read this book. But before that, I want to get this last precept in Judith chapter 16. This is Judith chapter 16, right? In verse, right, number, I'm going to start at 23, right? And it reads, it says, but she increased more and more in honor and waxed old in her husband's house, being 105 years old, and made her maid free. So she died in Bethel, and they buried her, right, in a cave of her husband Manasseh. And the house of Israel lamented her 7 years, right? And before she died, she distributed her goods to all them, the nearest of kin to Manasseh, her husband, and to them that were nearest of kin to her, right? So like, I want to get this precept. Yeah, this is the one I want, 22. And many desired her, but none knew her all the days of her life. So she was a virtuous woman. So what she wore, right, was virtuous. It wasn't to show herself. Many desire her for her works. They desire for her for her spirit. You want a man to desire you for your inward, not your outward. Because everybody gets old, right? Your chest is not going to be as it was in your youth. Your body isn't going to be as it was in your youth, right? Your little things you do, right, that are evil in the sight of the Most High, in the dark, right, is not going to last very long, right? A submissive woman, right? A loving woman, a virtuous woman, a woman that her works don't diminish over time. Looks and things that you do of the flesh are going to diminish, right? But your works are not, right? It says, after that Manasseh, her husband, was dead and gathered to her people, right? So though it doesn't say you have to use discernment in the spirit, and through the spirit, you have different, garments that woman wore, right? All right, question, mixing of garments. Does all of our garments have to be 100% cotton, linen, etc., rather than 70, cotton mixed with 30, rayon or polyester, for example? I hope this makes sense. Right now, I'm going to get this quick precept in Leviticus chapter 19 and 19. Right? Now, essentially, we're supposed to wear a garment, you understand, from head to toe. Right? That's what our forefathers wore. Right? And they will wear a girdle to girdle up their loins. But now, it's hard to walk around and have the type of ancient apparel that we did in the ancient world. Right? This is the book of Leviticus chapter 19, verse 19. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with diverse kinds. Or you don't want your bullock, right, mixing in with your donkey. It says, thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Or you don't want to put apple, right, orange, and you throwing all these different things. Why? Because their roots are going to intermingle. It's going to overthrow the seed and the harvest. Because one is going to harvest during this time, the other one is going to harvest during that time. You're not going to be able to water them the same, right? They're going to flourish in different seasons. You can't have true husbandry, right, with that. It says, neither shall a garment mingle of linen and wool come upon you. Right? So you can't have a garment of mingled of linen and wool come upon you. It's going into mixing. You understand, your wool and your linen your polyester, and all of those different things. Now, I'm not sure if I could pull this up. Let me see. Right, but when you mix certain materials together, I will have to find it. They talk about frequencies and different things that rub your skin and irritate you, or cause you to act or move in a different certain way. Right, when you actually go into it, right, the different mixing of materials. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it so fast, but nevertheless, if you dive into it, right, you could be able to see that, right. You see, I'm not sure if this was the link or not, right? So I could bear with me. Yeah, I might have to find that link. But diving into the mixing of those linens aren't necessarily good for you, right? Our synthetics and blending of culture today, somewhere that is 40%, 60%. Right, most high willing, that could be a cold cut to do through the spirit, diving into it. But they say it's not healthy for you, right? When you go into it. It says wool, linen have both significance of 5,000 mhgs. That amazing naturally created features for the fabrics will also give energy to your body as you wear it. It is important, however, not to wear linen and wool together. However, it's as the frequencies in both the linen and the wool fabrics run in opposite currencies and directions. So that's just, one of the very reasons amongst many, right, why you can't wear it, right? I found a little bit on it, the healing properties of linen and wool. When the priests going into the temple, they had to wear that linen. And there was a reason for that, to carry up their sweat and different things like that. So, I mean, when you dive into it, it's spiritual. The Lord isn't just saying things just to say them. Right, let's dive into the next one. African journey. Why do some Israelites wear a purple ribbon where the Bible says to wear a ribbon of blue? Right? Now, it doesn't necessarily say, let me make sure I'm reading that right. Yeah, a purple. It doesn't say purple. It says violet when you go into the etymology. Now, violet is a mixture between blue and red. Now, blue and red, you have different shades of violet. Now, I'm going to go into the etymology of what the sister's talking about. And then I'm going to go into violet. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 15. And I'm going to start right at verse 38. Right? And it reads, I'm going to get that blue in the Hebrew. So blue in the Hebrew is violet. Now, violet, some will call purple, but I'm not going to necessarily say it is purple because it's a mixture. It's one of those, colors. Mixtures of what? It says the RYB color model historical use by painters. Violet is created with a combination of red and blue pigments. So you do have blue, but you have a little bit of red into it. And located between blue and purple on the color wheel. So it's located between blue and purple. So it gets very I guess problematic when people just say it's purple or people just say it is blue. Now on a color wheel, it's in a mix between blue and purple, and it's a mix between red and blue. Right now that violet, I want to get that on a color wheel. This is your color wheel of violet. Some may say that that's purple. Some may say that this is blue. Some may say that this is blue. Some may say this is gray. So violet could really be uh, a plethora of shades, if you understand. Violet isn't a clear color. Red is a clear color. Blue is a clear color. You understand? Green is a clear color. Yellow is a clear color. But then you have turquoise, right? You have violet. You have beige. You have these different colors on a color wheel, right? That, some can say that this is blue. Some may argue and say that this is purple. Some may argue and say that this is violet. So that's when it just gets to the point where, not that this is the saying this, but where over righteousness comes in. Where you just picking at something that really doesn't need to be picked at. Now this is the color, or colors rather, of violet. And they say that this is violet, but this looks blue. So it's really all after your conscience and your understanding. But diving into it again, it's a mixture between red and blue. So wearing blue isn't off or a sin. You understand? You don't want to just say, well, I have to wear purple, because wearing purple isn't the color violet either. Right? Let's go back to it through the spirit. It's the book of, let me pull it up. Numbers chapter 15 and verse number 38. And it reads, "Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes and the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue." Why was a ribbon of blue such a thing to put on? Because that was what the kings wore. That was a very, very hard color to find, right? Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 35 and verse 35, right? And then it reads, it says, "Them have he filled with wisdom of heart to work all manner of work of the engraver, of the cunning workman, and of the embroiderer, in blue and in purple and scarlet." It's like you're in scarlet. Scarlet is red, purple is purple, and blue is blue. When you mix them all together, you get a violet color. So, it's hard to say, well, it's just purple. No, it's blue. No, it's violet. No, because blue, purple, and scarlet is the same thing. Scarlet is red. This is scarlet. Now, let's put scarlet and blue. Right? Make what? Scarlet and blue. Right? It's showing you. Red and blue, it makes this color. This color and this color makes this color. Little shade off with this makes this color. So red and blue is making this type of color, right? So they would take these colors together and they would make this color that's hard to be sought after and hard to be found. That's why blue, purple, and scarlet, and them putting upon what are so ancient and so hard to find. All right. So going back to it, it says, "And blue and in purple and scarlet and in fine linen and in the weaver, even them that do any work of those that devise cunning work." So when you dive into it, right, you just want to use wisdom, discernment, and understanding how the colors are and the significance of them, how these colors make another color, and you don't want to be over righteous too. The Lord said, "Why shalt thou destroy thyself?" Right, let me get this quick precept in the book of Ecclesiastes. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 16. And it reads, "Be not righteous over much." And you don't want to be too righteous. If you be too righteous, you'll start to think that your righteousness is proceeding, or you don't need the blood of Yahushua. You don't want to be too righteous to the point where you start to act like this. Let me get this quick precept. in the book of Isaiah. Certain people act so righteous that they act like this. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 65 and verse number 5, which say, stand by thyself. So certain people act so righteous, they say, stand by yourself, man. You can't stand next to me. I'm too righteous. Come not near to me, for I am holier than thou. Man, who is that? Did not the multitudes come around Yahushua? When did Yahushua say, you know what? Everybody don't stand next to me, man. But you got certain preachers, they're on podiums, they're on pulpits, they were far off from the people. You got Pharisees, they're super high up in the rooms. You can't touch them and get to them. Shalom, shalom. And it carries all the way up, then they listen. Bring them up hither. Or you got certain people, they standing afar off. You said, don't come to me, man. For these are a smoke in my nose, meaning a false sacrifice, an unpleasing smell to the Most High, a fire that burneth all day long. Right? So the Most High is not pleased with people being over righteous, man. Right? People acting like they're higher than what they ought to be. And a lot of people would do that, especially the Pharisees. Right? It says, neither shall neither make thyself overwise. Why should thou destroy thyself? Why don't you make yourself overwise? Because as a man thinketh, so is he. If your conscience starts to condemn you over the smallest things, you'll start to think that you're not in the truth anymore and start to forget that the grace and mercy of the Most High covers your sins. Right? Let's go to the next one through the Spirit. Brother, believe. All praise to the Most High. Shalom. Give me your breakdown on wearing tzitzits, fringes, Numbers 15:37, Deuteronomy 22 and verse 12. Right? Now, let's get a picture for those that don't know what tzitzits are. All right. These are what they call tzitzits. Now, me personally, I don't wear tzitzits. I can't see how tzitzits are what the Lord is talking about when he's talking about wearing fringes. I guess it's so unpopular amongst the nation and people wear them so much that it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to condemn men that are wearing them, nor rebuke them, right? But I don't see how this is talking about the fringes, because the Lord said a border and ribbon of blue. He didn't say a thread of it. A border. A border is a line. When you go into the word border, there's no line on this. It's just thread hanging, and they're not attached to your garment. You attach them to your garment, or you attach them to your loops on your pants. I can't see how this is talking about the same thing that the Lord is saying. It's taking what the Lord said and chopping it all up. You're gonna stick metal on it. You're looping it. You're just making your own thing. Now, if those men in their conscience say, well, it's 4 on each side, well, it's not actually going into physically 4, but certain men say, well, it's 4 on each side. I got the blue, I got the ribbon, even though it's not a ribbon, it's a thread. I got the ribbon of blue, right? And I'm keeping the commandments. And they're fully persuaded in their mind, or so, hey, very well, man. Right? But me, I don't see how the Lord is saying this. And through the understanding that the Most High has given me, right, I'm going to go inside of the precepts and go into it. Again, like I said, I'm not going to condemn men that are wearing these if you're fully persuaded in your mind that this is what the Lord is saying to you, right? But this is not what the Lord has said in the ancient world. Neither did men wear tzitzits in the ancient world, right? Let me get a little bit more on this tzitzit stuff. And it has an Amalek spirit to it. I never seen Amalek wearing fringes like this. No, Amalek got an off spirit. Spirit not right. It's off. Right? All right, we ain't got enough of this. Let's dive into it. Let's go to the mighty book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, and verse number 12. And it reads, Thou shalt make thee fringes. Now, what is fringes? Let's dive into it. A fringe is going into a hem. A hem. Let's go into it. Let's go to Deuteronomy, chapter 22, and verse number 12. The word fringes goes into tassels, right? Tassels on clothes. Now, in the New Testament, I'm going to get this real fast in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 14 and verse 36. It says, And besought him that they may only touch the hem of his garment. The hem was talking about his fringes or his tassels. So in the New Testament, it calls it hems. In the Old Testament, it calls it tassels. Now, what are tassels? What are hems? Let's dive into this a little bit more specifically. These are tassels. All right. Now, I've seen certain people have fringes like this, a bunch of tassels coming down. But I've never seen 4 long strings and 4 of them on each side. And it will have to be attached to a garment. It will have to be sewed into and become one. Can't take your fringes off and stick them on this and have metal attached to it and there's no ribbon. No, I can't see how the Lord at all is saying that in Deuteronomy or in the book of Numbers. Thou shalt make thee fringes, right, meaning hems or tassels, upon the 4 quarters of thy vesture. Let's get in the word vesture. Clothing. So it should be upon them, right? Meaning not hanging off on pants or, hanging on a backpack or, just hanging around somewhere, wherever you deem them, put them. I can't see how that's the fringes, right? It says upon the 4 quarters of thy vesture, right? Let me go back to it. It says, wherewith thou shalt cover thyself. Now I want to get the definition in Numbers. Chapter 15 and verse 38. And it reads, Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments. Now, a border of your garment is at the end of it. The end, a border is the beginning of. Like the Lord said, Esau is the border of wickedness. Meaning wherever you have land, you understand, you have the border of this land, a border of that land, and ancient landmarks. That's the border and the beginning of it. It says, throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe, the borders, it's like of the borders, a ribbon of blue. What is ribbon? All right. Let's go to Numbers chapter 15 and verse number 38. All right. What is borders? And what is ribbon? Let's get ribbon. Thread, right? Twisted. Cord, right? It says ribbon tassel. You type in ribbon and tassel, you will have to have, right, that ribbon threaded up and tassel with it. Now, like I said, some people wear these and some people wear the fringes. It's all according to your conscience. But it never said anything about metal or anything to attach. It has to be upon your vesture, upon your garment. Now, say people were wearing the tzitzits without the metal part and they were actually attached to their garment and their shirts, that'd be a little bit more believable and they would have a little bit greater of a stance to speak upon how they believe that. But considering how that's not attached as it is written to the shirt and or garment, it's not as it is written. So you kind of adding into the word or doing your own thing. But again, everybody that may not have the means to find these type of fringes, may not have them, may be fully trying to keep the commandments by what they have. Their conscience and their spirit is right into the Most High. They know what it really says, but they're trying their best. I can't see the Most High condemning or destroying them for trying their best. But nevertheless, you want to be as closest to perfection as you can as it is written. Right, let's go to the next question. Right, can you wear them without shirt with fringes? Just today you have to wear just tzitzit, if you get what I'm saying. Basically, are tzitzit a Jewish fable? Right, yeah, we kind of answered that question. Right, on to the next one. Right, and it reads, right, Araya Allah. Right, Shalom Malak. Muslims say Rebekah was 3 when Isaac married her. I know that can't be right. Can you expound on that? How would I answer that if it's supposed to meet the water? Right, no, Rebekah was not 3 years old. That sounds ridiculous when you read the book of Genesis, the 24th chapter. Why? Because there's certain things Rebekah was doing that a 3-year-old wasn't doing. Right, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 24. And I'm going to start at verse number 60. Right, and it reads, and they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister. Thou art the mother of thousands and millions. Let thy seed possess the gates of those which hate them. Right, so verse 59, I'm going to start at 50. This whole thing is fire. 57. And they said, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said to her, will thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. I mean, what 3-year-old was going to say that, man? Was she just somebody holding her and are thou going to go with her? And she says, I will go. Right? I don't know 3-year-olds say, I will go. It says, and they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. Jumping down to verse number 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. Meaning she was grown enough and a woman enough to get off her camel by herself. No 3-year-old is riding upon a camel, man. And when she deems fit, she gets off her camel. I don't know if it's a long strap, she kind of slid down. Right? No 3-year-old was doing this. For she has said unto her servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? Well, that's a very strong, an adult type of conversation. It says, and the servant has said, this is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. No 3-year-old knows about submissiveness. No 3-year-old knows about how to cover herself to make herself more appeasing and virtuous. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into her mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, meaning they laid down together. Right? And this is not talking about any type of pedophilia or any false doctrines that Islam, Ishmael, and any Muslims have to say. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So after you go through, the signs of how she talked, right, her covering herself with a veil, her getting off a camel, that would be impossible to pose that she was 3 years old. Right? That wouldn't make any type of sense. Right? Ariala Shalom. Another question I heard brother say, Deuteronomy 22:5 is speaking about warriors' garments and the Hebrew, saying women can wear pants. If you can expound on that as well, Malak, the water. Right? Well, that's going to. Now, if you want to just break it down, that is talking about warriors' apparel, then that means that men can wear purses. You don't want to be simple. You don't want to take one part of it, apply it. Therefore, there's nothing else in the scriptures and really talk about cross-dressings or what a man should wear and what a woman should wear other than this precept. So to take this and just say that she could wear whatever she want to wear, a cowboy's hat, a man's shirt, a man's pants, long as it doesn't have a breastplate upon it, right? She could wear all these chains and Timberland boots, and she could move in the spirit of a man, how she dresses, just because it doesn't have a breastplate, a helmet, or a buckler, is very simple, and that's carnal. And for people that break it down that way, it's very carnal, right? Anybody with a spirit, like the Apostle Paul said, and I'm going to get this precept, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to get that precept first. Let's go to the mighty book of 1 Corinthians. I mean, a woman could wear whatever she want to wear then, as long as she have a breastplate. Who's wearing a breastplate right now? Are men even wearing a breastplate right now? Are men even having helmets on right now? This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse number 12. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the spirit which is of God, that we may know the things that are freely given to us of God. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. So the Holy Ghost teacheth and gives you spiritual things to compare with spiritual things. Lord isn't comparing a bunch of carnal things, but the natural man, meaning a foolish man, receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judge of no man. So the Lord said, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. So the natural man, the carnal man, the physical man, the earthly man is just going to look at natural things, right? This whole law is spiritual. When they're talking about not gendering your beasts with diverse kinds, don't have two beasts yoked up, you understand, in the same vineyard. When it's talking about not having your seed sown in the same vineyard, when it's going into the year of Jubilee, when it's going into the Feast of Tabernacles, when it's going into the Passover, when it's going into the Sabbath day, all of these laws are spiritual. Even though they have a carnal condemnation right into them, right? If you don't keep them, they're still spiritual. What's spiritual about Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 5? Because these laws aren't just carnal. But let me get Hebrews real fast. Real fast. It's the book of Hebrews chapter 11. So like at chapter 7. And I'm going to start. So like, bear with me. Romans. It's the book of Romans chapter 7. Right? In verse number 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. So the law is spiritual. What's spiritual about Deuteronomy chapter 22, right? In verse number 5. For the woman shall not wear that which pertain unto a man. Now what pertains unto a man are warlike apparel, are pants, are certain hats. You have a woman's section and you have a man's section. So you can't just say, well, you know, if they made a damn man's section of dresses, that I'm not going off because it doesn't pertain to a woman. That'd be the same thing as saying about the pants. Just because the so-called white man has told you and has granted and checked it off in society to say that this is a woman's department, right? You take his word over the Most High. You take his word and his understanding and what he lets you do and what he has ordained now over the words of the Most High. There were no women's pants, you understand, prior to the 50s. When you look at slavery and the way they used to dress, and there are foremothers' garments and apparel, they always wore dresses, robes, you understand, and garments. There's nothing written about pants. So just because we come to this westernized world, Paul, you understand, Moses, and these men that have written these things weren't even able to comprehend the things and the sorcery and the inventions that were given to man. because they weren't even around during that time. So to take ancient history and writings and laws and apply them to this westernized mindset and to okay them is madness. It says, the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. This is not just saying that if a woman puts on a man's warlike apparel. That's not just what this is saying. Let's get this in the Hebrew. Right, if you women want to wear pants with a zipper, by all means. If you women want to wear tight clothes that show off your body and your figure, by all means. If you women want to let the so-called white man, what he ordained as created, which are new inventions that our foremothers never knew in this society, and called it okay, by all means. But you're going to have to answer right to the Most High at the end of the day. Right, let's get that real fast. Now, what pertains unto a man, it says man, strong man, warrior, right? Emphasizing strength or ability to fight. Now, I want to get a couple of precepts going into that same word. Now, it says, I'm going to get Numbers 24:3. And he took up this parable and said, by Elam, the son of Beor, have said, the man whose eyes were open have said. That's not going into world like apparel, but it's the same exact H1, right? 397. I'm going to get another one. I'm going to get Judges chapter 5 and 30. Have they not sped? Have they not divided to the prey to every man? Or a damsel, two, cereal, a prey of diverse colors, a prey of diverse colors of needlework, and both sides meet for the neck of them that take the spoil. Right, another one. Let me see. Right, First Chronicles 23 and 3. Now the Levites were the number of the age of 30 years and upward, and their number by their poles, man by man, was 30 and 8,000. Right? So you have these different H1, 3, right, 97, some going into warlike apparel, other not going into it. Job 4 and 17. Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? It's not talking about a warrior right here. It's talking about any man. Shall any man be as pure as his maker? Job chapter 10 and verse 5. Are the days as the days of man? Are thy years man's days? Right? So, I mean, when you're going into it, right, I'm going to read this. A genuine Hebrew Chalcedon lexicon, so called from strength, a word with few exceptions. Deuteronomy 22 and 5, First Chronicles 24 and 4, 26 and 12, compare found only in poetry in the Armenian. It is very widely used. I'm going to read that again. It is very widely used. So it's not just used at one point. So you don't want to just take this, just associate it with in 2024, your woman going off because she got some damn football pads on, man, or a helmet. Right? You want to compare spiritual things to spiritual things. Right? Let's go to the next question. Right? It's like I'm scrolling all the way up. And whoever came in, you understand how we diving into it is how we're going to address the comment board. Right? If you're all the way at the bottom, the Most High willing, we'll be able to address it. You know, if not, Most High willing, we could touch on it right at another time. Right? All right, we got the same kind of questions going back and forth. All right, new question. Ariala, another question. What other works, labors can I do to magnify the name of the Lord if teaching isn't my gift or what? Right? You could do a lot of things. right? Let me get this quick precept. You're going to do a whole lot of things, brother, right? I mean, you could pray for brothers. That's a very, very strong, slept on thing that you could do is pray. You got certain people, they pray constantly. They pray in their sleep. Praying for brothers and praying for the nation and praying for the fatherless and praying for the widows and praying for the elect and praying that we get out of this place and throwing curses, upon this wicked society is what you ought to be doing, right? Real fast, right? We got prayers on the wall in the house. So throw prayers up, right, as much as you can through the spirit, right, and have these prayers going in constantly, right? So let me share my screen again. Salaki, bear with me. Right, throw those prayers up. So you can have the spirit of prayer. You can have the spirit, right, of counsel. Right, you never know. You might be a good counselor. You may have the spirit of exhortation. Right, like Judas Maccabees, Simon. If those men didn't encourage and exhortate the men as they went to war, those men would have been ready to die. You may have a spirit of exhortation. You don't know what type of spirit you have or that the Most High has given you or granted you to be able to encourage and uplift the people, right? You may have a virtuous spirit, meaning what? We could dive into that too, right? And I want to get this quick precept. Matter of fact, right? It's the mighty book of 2nd Maccabees, right? Let me see what I want. Let me get 15. 2nd Maccabees chapter 15 and verse number 8. Wherefore he exhorted his people not to fear the coming of the heathen against them, but to remember the hope which in former times they have received from heaven, right? And now to expect victory and aid which shall come unto them from the Almighty. So you had Judas Maccabees, he had a very strong zeal for exhortation. Exhortation is a slept on spiritual gift, man. Exhortating people is a spiritual gift, right? You pushing people to do it and that you can overcome, right? That's a spiritual gift. Teaching isn't only the spiritual gift that you can do. You may have the spiritual gift of the tongues, right? You may know how to speak Latin, Greek, Hebrew, English. Say you don't have any of those things which I have named. You may have the spiritual gift, and I want to dive into the spiritual gifts real fast. This is the mighty book of Romans chapter 12 and verse number 7. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhortateth on exhortation. That's a spiritual gift. We just diving into it. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. So you may give. You may be a brother that gives alms and gives his last, and is always giving counsel, always giving a shirt off his back, always giving exhortation. He's always giving something to help the body. That's a spiritual gift. He that ruleth with diligence, he that sheweth mercy with cheerfulness. Love, let it be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave, right, to that which is good. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Now, I didn't know my spiritual gift. I never wanted to be a teacher. I never ascribed in my mind to teach. I remember the first time I taught, like it was yesterday. It was around evening time. It was the summertime. About 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And it was these two sisters, right? And I just started going into the curses. And I didn't prepare. I didn't write down no precepts. I didn't pray before. I didn't prepare myself. I was thrown on the spot. And I started to teach. I went into the curses. I went into Deuteronomy. But as I started to teach, I didn't really think I was teaching. I didn't know I was teaching. I was having a sincere conversation. I was trying to persuade these sisters. I was diving into the law. I was always zealous in the words of the Most High. It was always easy for me to talk about the Lord and go into the Lord and converse about the Lord all the day long. So it was already in my spirit to talk about the Most High. So as we went into it, I went into the curses one by one. I started to go into, well, what do you think about this? And look at how we living. And what do you think about that? And by the time I knew it, I talked for over 2 hours. the first time I ever taught. And I was pulling precepts after precepts, and there was a spirit of the Most High moving me. But the point of me saying that is you don't know your spiritual gift until you try to fulfill all these offices. When you set your foot on the court, you don't know you can know how to shoot a three until you shoot it. Who really knows they know how to sing unless they try it? I mean, how do you know? You may be in the house listening to your favorite song, cutting up, right? Some carrots, whatever the hell you're doing, baking some cookies, and you humming. Next thing you know, you hum that tune right, man. Right? You kind of hit that tune. You didn't even know you could hit it. Now you play the next song and the next song. Next thing you know, you humming for hours. Next thing you know, you're going to the studio. So the more you start to fulfill and try these things, you may know how to sew. Right? I mean, it's 1,000 things our foremothers and forefathers have done. Right? And I'm going to get this precept touching in that, man. Let's go to the mighty book of Exodus. Right? And I want to touch on that. Exodus chapter 35. It's Exodus chapter 35 and verse 21. It says, and they came every one whose heart stirred them up, every one whom his spirit made willing, and they brought the Lord's offering to the work of the tabernacle and the congregation for all service and for the holy garments. And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought bracelets, earrings, right, rings and tablets of all jewels of gold, every man that offered an offering of gold unto the Lord. And every man whom was found blue, purple, scarlet, fine linen, goat's hair, red skin, of rams, badger skin, brought them. And every one that did offer an offering of silver and brass. My point of bringing this is everybody brought something different. You didn't have everybody bringing silver, everybody bringing brass, everybody bringing goat's hair. You didn't have 1 million people bringing scarlet or purple. Everybody had their different thing that they brought to the Most High. So that's spiritual, that even now you have different men that can bring different things to the Lord. Everybody's not going to be able to bring the same exact thing. It says, everyone that did offer an offering of silver, brass, brought the Lord's offering. And every man in whom was found shittim wood, and for work of the service, they brought it. So in 1 Corinthians 12 and 4, now they are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversity of operations, but the same Spirit of God which worketh in all. All right, so my counsel to you, King, is to try out everything there is to do, to put your hand to the plow. But above all of that, pray that the Most High reveals that to you. Because you don't want to just be standing and doing something that you may not be profitable in doing. Pray that the Most High reveals that to you and gives that to you, that you may be able to exercise the talent that's deep down within you that every man has. Right? And we diving into the next question, right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right? Peace, bro. How do you go about eating nowadays from certain restaurants? I feel they cook pork on the same grills as other stuff, or certain places use shellfish grease for other stuff. Right? See, what you do is you apply the precepts. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of 1 Corinthians chapter 8. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 8. And I'm going to start at verse number 7. And it reads, howbeit, there is not in every man that knowledge. Meaning every man doesn't have the knowledge that other men have. Or you may be eating down at dinner, and one man has the knowledge that this place uses pork grease. Another man may not have that knowledge. Another man may know, and I've been at a mall one time. I was about to get some food, and I seen them cooking on a stir fry. You know what they did? Right when I was in line, I seen them dump the shrimp, and then they put all of the oil, and then they chefed it up and cooked the shrimp, and then they threw the chicken right on top of that. And once I seen that, I left. Now, if I didn't see that, I wouldn't even have known they was cooking shrimp. I didn't look for shrimp. I didn't know they sell shrimp. I already knew that I wanted some chicken. And I would have got the chicken and I would have left. And it wouldn't have been in my knowledge or my conscience to know that. That don't mean you hop the counter, right? Press him up against the wall, right? Stick a flashlight in his face. He said, "What you selling back there, boy?" Right? Then he has three questions in 3 damn minutes to answer, or you snap his neck. Right? Or you write a letter to the president, right, of their company and say, "Explain to me right now what's in all your materials and all your foods." That don't mean you secretly work there for a week so you could dig around the back and the shelves to figure out if you want to eat there to quit the job. No, you have to have that knowledge or you don't. You have the conscience or you don't have the conscience. It says, "For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour, eat it as a thing unto an idol." So certain people eat stuff and they know it's sacrificed to an idol. Certain people eat stuff and they know it's off. Birthday cakes, right? They're all dibbling and dabbling in Halloween candy. They're taking sacrifices of all of this idolatry, and their conscience being weak is defiled. But meat condemneth not us to God. Meaning meat isn't going to condemn, meaning destroy us when it comes to the Most High. Nothing is going to separate the elect from the Most High, especially not meat. It says, "For neither if we eat are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse." So certain men's minds will be like, "I'm not going to eat that. I don't think it's good for me." That's their conscience. They're fully persuaded in their mind. So well. Certain men going to say, "I'm going to eat. It's not sacrificed to an idol, and it's nothing in my sight. This is my conscience and my understanding, and I can prove it through what I can see at the moment in time, and I'm okay with that." Neither are they the worst, neither are they the best. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. You have a lot of men that are weak. So you don't want to have your stumbling block. You don't want to make men stumble because you're stronger than them. You could be so strong you overthrow the next man. Let a man rise up and say, "I'm going to war." It's 50 people over there charging towards you with armor, and it's just you. And you got a sword. And you strong knowing that the angels are around you, but hey, this brother may not know that. That's why Elisha said, "Open his eyes that he may see." Right? And when you read the book of 2 Kings 6 and 15 all the way down. It's more that be with us than they that be with them. And Elisha knew that. But his confidence could have overthrew the weak. If the Most High didn't open his eyes, that man could have run. Certain people, their conscience, it could be a stumbling block. You understand? To men that are weak. Verse 10. "For if any man see that which have knowledge sit at meat and the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him that is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols?" It says, "For if any man see thee which has knowledge," you have knowledge, "sit at meat in the idol's temple." That's not saying you just going the hell off. Right? There were many men that went in idols' temples. Daniel was in the idol's temple. Right? You had our fathers that sat in temples with idols and different things. Nehemiah was a cupbearer. There's certain people that understand that the faith of the Most High and the cleansing of Yahushua is going to cleanse them from all things that they may or may not see. And then you have certain people, they're just weak and they're not going to understand the grace of the Most High, the cleansing, the sanctification, and all the things Paul was talking about. It's not saying you can eat food sacrificed to idols. It's not saying that. But certain men, they don't know what's going on. They're weak and they're all over the place and they're not rooted. "And though thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish, for whom Yahushua died." Right? No. "But when ye sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience," and that's what a lot of brothers do in this truth, man. They go off. "Brother, you weak. You'll never be like us." Or, "Brother, you still don't got fringes on, and you where your beard at?" And you getting on brothers, and that brother's taking his time. Hey, man, we took our time. I don't know any brother that got fringes the same day. They grew their beard out the same day. They read a chapter the same day. They went on the highways and byways the same day. They fasted that same night, and they kept that next feast day that same month. I don't know anybody that did that. Times 7 of other things that you could be doing. They cleaned out their refrigerator the same day. They cast away all of their old friends the same day. That's slim to none. I mean, it's going to take time for certain brothers to do things. That brother may very well be the elect. That sister may very well be married. It says, "Therefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth. Meaning I'm not going to be the reason of my brother being overthrown in the faith because I'm stronger than him. Lest I make my brother to offend. And you don't want to offend one of the little ones. So going into it, yeah, there are a lot of false things that are cooked and done in these diverse places, but you have to use your conscience, your wisdom, and understand. Me, I don't eat all places. And some places I do eat, and I have the knowledge of what I know at that time, and I pray and I ask the Most High to sanctify the food, right? Let's dive into the next question. All right, I'm going to these in order. I'm scrolling down, right, till I see the next question, right? Shalom Malak. Can someone biblically honor an unrepentant parent and is cutting off contact with them, going against Exodus 20 and 12 and Sirach 3 and 3, Sirach 3 and 7? Right? How can someone biblically honor, that parent? All right, so how you can do that, I'm going to go to the precepts you pulled. Let's go to Sirach chapter 3 and 3. Right? It's the book of Sirach, chapter 3 and verse number 3. Right? And it reads, whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins, and he that honoreth his mother is as one that layeth up treasure. Now, let's put everything in perspective. Did Jonathan honor Saul? Yes. But did Jonathan go against Saul? Yes. Honoring your father and honoring your mother is not making them your idol. It isn't bowing down into every one of their requests. My mother right now is in Christianity. It may break her heart, or she may ask me to do things that I'm just not going to do. She may ask me to come cut the grass a certain day where I have a call, or I have the Most High's business at work. She may be upset. And she has very well said to me a couple of times, keep your word. You're not going to keep your word. Ain't you a man of God? My own mother said that, man. And I could be cut and be like, well, you know what? Mommy comes first. Oh, my. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Now I'm cutting grass and it's the Passover. I'm cutting grass and the men of God have a meeting through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I have to go to war, but now I'm dusting my mother's top cabinets or whatever she required me to do. Honor comes from the Most High. The Most High told you to honor. Once that starts to conflict, contradict, or come against the words of the Most High, you can't make your mother or your father an idol, nor can you bow down to every one of their requests. That's going into wisdom. Now, I want to prove that and go into that, right? When you diving into Jonathan and you diving into David. Now, I want to get this quick precept right through the spirit in the book of 1 Samuel. Right? 1 Samuel chapter 20. And I'm going to start at verse, let me see what I want. I'm going to start at 1. And David fled from Nadoth, right, in Ramah, and came and said before Jonathan, what have I done? What is mine iniquity, and what is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh my life? And he said unto him, God forbid, thou shalt not die. Behold, my father would do nothing, either great or small, but that he will shoot at me. Now, somebody could be like, well, you know what? Hey, Jonathan, you playing both sides of the fence. Jonathan, you coming against your father for David. Hey, Jonathan, you doing what you ought not to be doing. What are you doing? You're going against your father. You're not honoring your father right now. But your father may not be in the right spirit. Your father may be committing sin. Your father may have a grudge. Your father may be evil. Your father may not allow you to bridge the gap that you may want to bridge. Through his wickedness and evilness is not going to have you to be condemned in the eyes of the Most High. Certain people are just wicked. You have wicked sons in the scriptures. You have wicked fathers in the scriptures. It says, behold, my father would do nothing, either greater or small, but that he would shew at me. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. And David sware moreover and said, Thy father certainly knoweth that I have found grace in thine eyes. And he said, Let not Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. And truly, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is but a step between me and death. Then said Jonathan unto David, Whatsoever thy soul desireth, even I will even do it for thee. So, I mean, Jonathan didn't really care about what his father thought, what his father did, how his father acted, like what was going on with his father. Why? Because he understood that righteousness foresees the honoring of your father. The honoring of your father is to honor him according to the precepts, not to play his games, not to bow down and to every one of his requests. If my mother called me right now during this live and said, Come to church, I'm not going to come. That doesn't mean I didn't honor my mother. My mother can't call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got work 5 o'clock in the morning, say, Come cut this grass. That's not wisdom. That doesn't mean I don't honor her, but to take care of her in her old age, to help her when I can. You understand? To teach her the truth and aid her and give her everything that she ought to have according to the precepts, to take care of her financially as much as I can, or to be a good son as she starts to diminish in age. These are the things that the Most High requires amongst many. Now, I want to get this quick precept, jump into verse, right, 30. And it reads, Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. Meaning Saul is mad at his son because his son choose righteousness over what the world would call honoring your father. Honoring your father is not honoring his wickedness. And he said unto him, Thou son of a perverse, rebellious woman. Right? Basically calling him, you son of a bee. Right? Do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thy own confusion and to the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? When you were chosen this man over your own father. Now he could have said, well, the Most High is going to kill you, Exodus 20 and 12, and he could have been quoting all these precepts, but a wise man is going to see his visage, see his evil, and understand righteousness and understand discernment. It says, For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established. What is he saying? Nor thy kingdom. He's saying, as long as you don't let me kill David, you're not going to reign in a room after me. You're not going to be established as my son in his kingdom. He's basically showing them and telling them, you can have the riches of the world and the glory of the king, or you can let me do my wickedness and my evilness and have all of the glory of kings. So he basically gave him a dilemma, like Satan did Yahweh Shai. You can have all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, or, right, you can choose the glory of the Most High. It says, Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die. And Saul got so angry at Jesse, Saul tried to kill his own son, right? Let me get that quick precept. Right, 1 Samuel 20, I believe, and 33. Right, hey, just had to keep reading. That's the spirit. Verse 33. And Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him. So he got so angry at his son, he started throwing javelins at him to kill him. Whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger and did eat no meat. So this is a beef going on, man, a father and son. Imagine your father going to hello, man, I hate y'all Hebrew Israelites. Stay away from those men. I'm tired of you wearing those tassels in this house. And you just flip the table and just peel off, man. It says, and that month, for he was grieved for David because his father had done him shame. Now, did Jonathan disobey nor honor? So like he dishonor his father? No. There's nothing that Jonathan did that was in transgression. So you may have a wicked sibling, father, mother, or whatever the case may be. That's not going to prevent you from the kingdom by their wickedness. Going back to Sirach chapter 3, and you said verse 7, he that feareth the Lord will honor his father. Now, honor means to reverence, to glorify, you understand? To show obeisance. and will do service unto his parents as to his masters. Honor thy father and thy mother, both in word and deed, that a blessing may come unto thee from them. And I'm going to just get that word in the Hebrew. Right? That word honor in the Hebrew. To gain glory. Right? So it's really going into glory. Right? Glorify, honor. Right? You don't want to dishonor your father. To be heavy, weighty, be grievous, hard, be rich, honorable, glorious, be burdensome, be honored. Right? So you listening to your father at what he says is honor. Right? You praying for your father is honorable. Right? You not having hate in your heart for your father is honorable. But if your father is contrary to the words of truth and evil, as unto Saul, maybe not at that degree, but into that spirit, there's not much you can do to honor a man, right, that's moving in that spirit that he would allow you to do. Right? Let's go to the next question. Right, I'm not sure if this is a question. India is Elam. Prove it. It's a lot of things, the brother was kind of putting down. I'm not sure if you responded to somebody else on the comment board or you're asking a question, but we'll answer it for edification's sake. If this isn't a question, most I willing somebody gets edified. Is India Elam proven? Right. So when you go to the book of Daniel, the 8th chapter, you have the palace, right, that you go into. That's the same palace in Esther, the 1st chapter. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 8, and let's go to verse number 1. It's the mighty book of Daniel, chapter 8, and I'm going to start at verse number 1. It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision, right, appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after the which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace. Now, Shushan is a province, right, in Elam, in India. Let's go into Shushan, the palace, which is also where King Artaxerxes was. All right, we're going to dive into it. Shushan, ancient capital of Elam and southern west area of modern Iran. So Iran is Elam, right? That's where the inhabitants of Shushan, the palace, was, right, during this time. Now, Daniel was in his province. It says, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw a vision, and I was by the rivers of Ugala. You can also read about that when you go to Daniel, right, the 12th chapter. Now, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go to Isaiah. Right before I prove that, I'm going to go to Esther, the 1st chapter, Shushan, the palace. It's the book of Esther, chapter 8, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now it came to pass in the day of Artaxerxes, this is Artaxerxes, which reigned from India into Ethiopia over 127 provinces, that in those days when the king Artaxerxes sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace. So his throne and his kingdom was in Shushan. From what? The province of India. India is what? Elam. It's saying the same thing and showing you Elam, right, in Daniel, the 8th chapter, 1 all the way down, is talking about India, but it explains that Shushan the palace is also India. And one it calls it India, and the other one it calls it Elam. Right, let's go to the mighty book, right, of Isaiah, chapter 22. It's Isaiah chapter 22 and verse, right? I'm going to start at number 6. And Elam bare the quiver with chariots of men and horsemen. Ker uncovered the shields. What is this going into? Let's read it from the top. the burden of the valley of vision, which allayeth thee now, that thou art wholly given up to the housetop. Thou art full of stirs and tumultuous city, a joyous city. Thy slain men are not slain with the sword, thy dead in battle. All thy rulers are fled together. They are bound by the archers. All that are found of thee are bound together, right? Which have fled far, slack from far. Therefore I will look away from me, and I will weep bitterly. Labor not to comfort me because of the spoiling of the daughter of my people. For it is a day of trouble and treading down of perplexity by the Lord of hosts in the valley of vision, breaking down the walls of the crying to the mountains. And Elam bare the quiver, and the chariots of men and horsemen, and Ker uncover the shields. And it shall come to pass that thy choice valleys shall be full of chariots, and horsemen shall set themselves in array at the gate. And he discovereth Salakia the covering of Judah, and didst look in the day of armor of the house of the force. Right, so Elam, I'm going to go to chapter 21 now. Right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 21, because 21 goes into 22. This is chapter 21. It says, a grievous vision is declared unto me, and a treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously. And the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media, all the sides thereof have I made to cease. Therefore are my loins filled with pain. Pains have taken hold upon me, and the pains of a woman in travail, and I was bowed at the hearing of it, and I was dismayed at the seeing of it. My heart panted, and fear affrighted me. The night of my pleasure have he turned into the fear unto me. Right? I want to link these two wars, and I want to go to Isaiah, the 13th chapter. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse. Let me see what I want. Bear with me. I'm going to start at 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes. You had the Persians and you had the Medes, right? Those are the Iranians, right? And you also had Elam, right? India, the Persians and the Medes. Against them, which shall not regard, right, silver, and as gold, they shall not delight in it. Now, I want to look this up real fast. And I want to tie this in, going into Elam. Right now, I already showed you that Elam is India, but for the sake of the spirit and going into it, I want to dive into it a little bit more. Right? I'm going to go inside of the Battle of Apis. Now, the Battle of Apis was the last major military engagement between the Achaemenid Persian Empire and the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which took place in 539 BC. Right? It says during the Persian invasion of Mesopotamia, at the time Babylon was the last major power in the Western Asia. The Persian control, the battle was fought near the strategic riverside of the city of Apis. Now, let's dive into Apis. Apis was an ancient Near East city near the Tigris, which is from modern Baghdad, right? Which is what? Arab, right? Baghdad. It says the equivalent of Apis and Upis are now assumed but not yet proven. Earlier on was thought that the ideogram with Apis might refer to Kesh, right, or Ashkar. Location is not yet known, certainly through the tall. I'm gonna bow down a little bit more. Arcadian. All right. Let's get this real fast. Battle of Apis, shown within Iraq. Baghdad, right? Iraq region, Mesopotamia, right? So that's going to show you around that region, right, that these men were Elamites, right? And those are the literally going into, right, that province of Elam, right? Most High willing, that answered your question, right? All right, I'm not sure if a lot of these are questions or conversation, but most High willing, you could ask, your question with a question mark at the end of it to eliminate confusion. All right, so we still diving into it. All right. Next question. Is sex alone marriage, or is there a written covenant of some sort that has to take place? Reference in Tobit 7. All right, let's go to Tobit chapter 7 and verse 14. All right, it's the mighty book of Tobit, chapter 7 and verse number 14. And called Edna his wife, and took paper, and did write an instrument of covenants, and sealed it. Now, essentially, you want to write an instrument, a table of covenants, and seal it. Why? Because all contracts should be handwritten. They should be. But you have vows in the scriptures. I'm going to touch on that. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 30 and verse 1. Let's go to the mighty book of Jeremiah, chapter 32 and verse number 8. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 32 and verse number 8, and it reads, So Hamalel, my uncle's son, came to me in the court, right, of the prison, according to the word of the Lord, and said unto me, Buy my field, I pray thee, that is in the north, which is in the country of Benjamin, for the right of an inheritance is thine, and the redemption is thine, to buy it for thyself. Now, essentially, you're not buying a woman, but at the same time, you're taking her as unto an inheritance. The same way an inheritance of a field is bought, right? The same way. You have Ruth and you have Boaz. And essentially, he bought her and redeemed her, right, unto his countrymen, his kinsmen, you understand, unto himself, right? And you have to have witnesses, right? You have to have a vow. You have to have, you understand, a contract and certain bless when you're going into a field and redemption and buying. It says, and I bought the field of Hamalel, my uncle's son, that was in the north, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver, right? And you may, give that, whatever the case may be, 15 shekels for his daughter, 30 shekels for his daughter, right? You may give 100 shekels for his daughter, whatever he wants, through the spirit, right? His dowry. It says, and I subscribed the evidence and sealed it and took witness, right? And weighed the money in a balance, right? It says, so I took the evidence of the purchase, both with which was sealed according to the law and custom, which was open, right? So they took things and they sealed it, right? They had witnesses, money. When certain things in exchange are bought, whether it be land, whether it be certain things, you have to have witnesses, exchange, and contracts and things according to money. Now with marriage is literally a vow between you, your wife, and the Most High. What consecrates the marriage, meaning issuing an end to complete the marriage, is when you lay down with your wife. Now in the ancient world, your wife is supposed to be a virgin. Any contract that we literally have in the law, it really goes back to either a verbal one, which is a vow, or it goes back to blood, which is a sacrifice. Now I want to get this real fast. In Deuteronomy chapter 22. Because what would be the instruments of covenant? It would be the what? The sheep that the father would have, or the husband rather, at that moment he would show before the men, look, it's consecrated. Look, this is now my wife, and these are the sheets and the tokens. This is the book of Deuteronomy 22 and 17. And lo, he hath given occasion of speech against her, saying, I have found her not thy daughter a maid. Let there be the tokens of the daughter's virginity. So you have to show proof. They shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. So the cloth would be what? Her blood. So when you would enter into a maid in the ancient world, you would take a virginity, blood would be issued out, which is entering into a covenant. You would have a verbal contract, which is a vow that you cannot break. No man can break a vow of the Most High. You can repent from breaking your vow, but that doesn't disannul the vow that you made. We can repent from breaking the laws that we issued into and our fathers did 4,000 years ago. But just because we repented doesn't disannul the vow that we all entered into in the wilderness. We literally entered into a vow that we was going to keep the Most High's commandments. Now, if we break the vow, we can repent from it. That doesn't disannul the vow. If you vow to the Most High, whether man or woman, that this is my wife, and there's nothing that I can do, not that you're going to say it this specific way, but I'm going to take care of her. I understand this is my wife. And you're issuing into that verbal contract and covenant and verbal agreement with the Most High, then that's you being married in a betrothal. But to consecrate and complete that is the covenant of blood that you enter into with that man and that woman, which are now joined together, meaning what? They're one flesh. It says this. This is Numbers chapter 30 and verse number 1. Now, certain people, they choose to write it down verbally. Right? So like you write it down physically. Some people, they do it verbally. But if in this man's society, I just want to show you something. Let me see. Trying to get a quick link. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to find one, fast. Right. That said, if your certification has gone missing, you have to do a little legal work. It's like a leg work to request another copy. You would need to contact either online or in person vital records offices or county records office which your marriage certification was filled. Why do you have to do that? Why do I have to contact the so-called white man or the legal states or anybody to do any legwork to require another copy? So the whole thing with the understanding of a lot of women, not that men have this understanding, a lot of men do, but it's chiefly women. They want to walk down the aisle. They want to wear a ring. Wearing a ring is going back to the ancient Egyptian customs. You'll put your ring on, and they put it on your middle finger. It's like your ring finger, because it's said in Egyptian mythology that your ring finger is the vein of love, and from your vein it goes all the way down from this one vein, and it connects to your heart. So that's Egyptian mythology. That's why you put it on this finger. A ring is that it will always be something pushing down on your vein to pump love for you. That's Egyptian mythology. I'm going to get that real fast. Right? Vein of love. Right? Egyptian mythology. This tradition can be traced back to the ancient times where Egyptians used to believe that a vein from the fourth finger on the left hand directly to the heart gave the name Venus Amoris, which is Latin for vein of love. So you will put the ring on. See, a lot of women, they're worshiping the spiritual demon Satan, and they don't even know it. They're worshiping walking down the aisle. They're worshiping all of these customs that has nothing to do with what the Most High said. The Most High never said you had to do certain things that America makes you to believe you have to do. You don't have to wear a ring. A ring is anything, right? What does that have to do with anything? Now, a contract could be destroyed. A contract could be lost. In certain states, if you lose your marriage license, you're no longer married. I believe when you watch a episode of Martin, right? Martin, I believe, signed by accident, and he got married to Pam, and they were legally married. So you don't want to get lost behind this piece of paper, spirit. right? It's a covenant that you can enter into as a witness. But nevertheless, that does not mean that if you do not have a piece of paper, you're not married. A lot of the so-called slaves, they got married. They didn't have paper. They were getting their backs whooped in. They didn't have witnesses at times. You know what they did have? They had the Most High as a witness, and they had a covenant that they entered into, right? Whether it be that blood or whether it be that verbal contract that you made in Numbers, the 30th chapter. This is Numbers chapter 30 and verse 2. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond. See, you're binding your soul. I mean, there's no piece of paper that could override an oath. There's nothing that could override an oath. Because guess what? Whether you sign something or not in this man's system, and you raise your hand and you say, I swear by blah, 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 that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Right? And whatever you say could be used against you in a court of law because you entered into that oath. Doesn't matter if you signed a piece of paper or not. It says, and he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. And we entered into an oath. Read the book of Deuteronomy 28th chapter. Read Deuteronomy the 27th chapter. Read Deuteronomy the 26th chapter. There are very well things that we entered into as an oath as a people. Right? The Lord said in Deuteronomy chapter 26, right in verse 16 all the way down with the covenant between God and his people. Right? 16 through 19. You got Deuteronomy chapter 27. Right? When you read it. Verse 11 all the way down. You have Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 29. Right? 26 all the way down. Right? You have many covenants that we entered into verbally. You had the covenant of blood that Moses he sprinkled upon the tabernacle and upon all the people. When you read the book of Hebrews, right? The 9th chapter. When you go inside of all of these things. So it says, and he shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. If a woman also vow a vow unto the Lord and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hear the vow, and her father be with, she hath bound her soul, and her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand. Every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. You can't get out of a vow. So when you come and you marry, going into it, you understand whether it be a dowry, an understanding, an agreement, right? A woman could be a promise to another man and given off in marriage by that agreement with her father. Because like it says in the book of 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, right? If he marry or if he doesn't, well, he doeth well, right? What he doeth well with his virgin, paraphrasing greatly. So the father can marry off or the father can't marry off. It's the agreement, the vow, and it's our custom as it is written. Now, Tobit, the 7th chapter, verse, let's read that again, 14. It says, and called his wife and took paper and did write an instrument of covenants and sealed it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually wise to do that. You have witnesses, right? You have a covenant being sealed. And like I read in Jeremiah, the 32nd chapter, right? They have done those things. They have sealed up covenants and handwritten those things. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, but that's not what marriage is. If you don't have a piece of paper, that's not going to stop you from marrying, or a pen. Or you got the piece of paper, you got the covenant, everything chiseled out, but you lost your pen. Right? No, that's not going to withdraw you nor keep you from marriage. Right? Let's go to the next question through the Spirit. Right? Let me see. And Salaki, bear with me. Going into it. Salaki, I'm scrolling down. Scrolling down. Scrolling down. How long should someone fast to cleanse themselves? Well, that's according to the spirits that's on you, and that's according to what the Most High puts in your spirit. Now, I can't say 3-4 days, and it may take a day. I can't say a day, and it may take more than one day. There's certain spirits that have to be cleansed by multiple fasting. So there isn't a specific day, right, or number of days that you fast for, right? You fast for 2 days to beat the lust demon. You fast for 3 days to beat, right, the adultery demon, and you fast for 10 days to beat the killing demon, right? No, you have to fast according to your spirit. You have to weigh and examine your spirit to see if you need more cleansing. Because you may take a shower and you may wash very, very well, but at the end of the day, you need to wash again, or you need to soak, right? I mean, you got dirt under your nails, right? You may wash your soap very well, get between your ears, but you need to wash your soap 2 times. That's why when you look at a washer and a dryer, sometimes they wash and they go to another cycle, then they wash all over again. Or you may dry your clothes, but they still damp, then you may dry them again. So it's all pertaining to how wet it is or how dirty it is to wash them. So that's really a question you will have to examine by fasting and sincerity and seeing and weighing your spirit, how well those spirits have escaped you. Right? Right. And with that, I'm about to get this closing precept. Right? I don't necessarily see too many other precepts. Lucky, any other questions? Believe I got to the bottom. But I'm going to get this last closing precept. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before God. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. Right, so continue to keep watch, right? Stay diligent, do everything you can to magnify and glorify the name of the Most High. And with that, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, wa Malak Yahushua. Shalom.